Hi guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I am doing my Essendon vs Gold Coast AFL Fantasy review, and yeah, before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe, as this channel I would like to grow, and I'm probably going to showcase a lot of my mistakes in this video, especially with just I guess changing trades, going against my guts, having a shocker with captaincy, etc. This was a bad game for me. So let's get into the video now. So first off, mistake number one was not picking up Setterfield this week. I had him in my trade target basically until Dacos kicked a goal in the last minute or two, and then I traded down to Worpel. So Setterfield, I missed out on Setterfield's 130, got Worpel's 82, so that's 48 points, as well as now trying to trade in Setterfield. Effectively, what did Setterfield gain this week? He gained 69k, whereas Worpel gained 42, so a minus 27k, plus also a 48 pointer difference is pretty bad. Then I also had the Bo Euland stuff up of 27 points, leaving 31 points on the defender bench, and then the Wits captaincy I stuffed up as well, rather than going for the likes of who did well in round two. How can I see this? Last round, here we go. Instead of probably just going for the likes of a Taranto captain or a Gordon captain. So I messed up there and lost around 20 points or so. Luckily, it didn't cost me much between flipping between greens, so I'm not that disappointed. So, but that's still another 20 points, as well as I left, I played Philippou instead of Hollands, which was another 35 points, and I played Chandler over Bruin, which was another 22 points, so 22, 57, 80, was that 81, and then 31 points again, so that wasn't, I basically lost 112 points out of my optimal, and then I ended up only 859, so I would have ended up around the 970 and probably ended up around 25k or so rank. But you live and you learn, and now I know not to trust Euland after that scribble. But now we'll get into the team. So yes, Setterfield just did really, really well. I said to one of my mates not to pick him because he didn't get many contested balls, and this was probably about 3 or 4 hours before the game. And then yeah, I stuffed over both his and my round a little bit, so had to take the blame on that one. Whoopsie. But we move on. Shield did really, really well again. I didn't catch much of this game. I watched it, but I was doing other stuff such as preparing and editing videos, etc. And so I wasn't watching, and Shield sort of, I think, went under the radar for me. Didn't really notice him. Parish was one of the guys that I did notice, and yeah, he looked really good. Ended up 103. Redman again, really stood out, I guess, again for me. Merritt seemed to be getting the straight. It was almost taking it off of Draper or Witts, whoever it was, or getting the second the handball out and being able to kick it forward and getting the clearance. Langford just was he also missed 3 or so chances, I'm pretty sure. 1, 2, how many behinds did he kick? He kicked 2 behinds in the end, 5 goals, 2 I think it was. So yeah, you're not going to get that from him often, so definitely not a pick. Caldwell got back to a better version of him, but 71 you're never going to take, especially at 600k. You want those guys to be hitting 90s, 100s, sort of 70s as a low, whereas he hit I think a 53 did he hit? D'Ambrosio, I thought, he has a very, very similar game style to that of Blakey and stuff like that. So he looked really, really good for an actual perspective of the team, but I don't think he'll be fancy friendly because he's more of that run and dash and that big booming kick, rather than the Bombers don't really play kick around the back as much. It's more of their midfield that gets the ball. So he's not fancy friendly. And something it took me a game to figure out is that even though Draper doesn't get the many hit outs and stuff like that, the the double trouble of Draper and Phillips really can limit a ruckman, and we saw that with Witts as he only got 84 in the end. So I believe yes. Marshall has them next week, and I think he's going to struggle. So I'm not going to put captaincy on him. I'm just going to put that away. And yeah, it was probably a dumb decision to put Witts captain, but it didn't burn me too much. Menzie, he's a guy that I might look at. There's when I go through my trade targets, there's 6 like definite guys, and then there's, in case of some alternatives of the 4 guys that I'm trading out, a rookie might come into the equation, and Menzie might just be at that price range to be able to. I know that he's going to have a really good break even, so he might be the guy to go to, but we'll wait and see. Heppel got subbed out, so definitely not go for him. I don't think it was necessarily an injury, but just didn't look too good. Laverde, I think, is just going to be that defender that averages 60 or so this year. I don't think he's that. The 94, I think, was a shock last week. Phillips is going to be so up and down as the secondary ruckman. I think he was used a lot more this week as they really tried to target Witts and sort of make him feel the heat, because he was absolutely stuffed by just these two just running him into the ground, because they knew that their mobility was a lot better than Witts's, and they knew that they needed to basically run his tank into the ground, and that's why I think you saw those two run over Witts in the last quarter, and that's why I think Essendon probably won in the end. They won the ruck battle. That led to the midfield battle being won by them, even though the Gold Coast midfield's really good, and that's why they won the game in the end. So we'll see what happens with St Kilda next week. But I think with Marshall having a better tank than Witts, I don't think they can probably do that as much. But I think they'll run a similar strategy. Kelly just didn't look good. Davey, good rookie increase. And then you have the likes of Martin, who's just having a bad season, it looks like, at the moment. But, second season, and he would probably just get better as he takes, I think he's taking more of that half-forward wing role. But I'm not too sure, as I don't really keep up with Essendon too much, as I probably should next year. Touk looked really good in the middle 2 quarters, as you can see here. He was really noticeable getting the ball and really pushing it forwards. I thought him and Raul together are going to be... Raul, I think this is finally the year that he steps up. And I think he's probably going to be the type of guy that averages... I reckon 90 this year is probably very achievable for him. Sam Collins did really well in the middle 2 quarters again when they started to, I guess, dominate. Well, not dominate, but just keep up with Essendon. So that was really good for him. Lockie Weller other than the 3rd quarter, did pretty well, but it was a good, first game back for him, but nothing too special. And you have Witsy here, who started to come out in the last quarter. I thought he was pretty unlucky with the stats keeper. I think he probably won another 5 or so hit-outs in the game, but, if he ends up 90, there's not much gain out of that for me. And then you have Noah Anderson, who did really well in the second half. And then Constable was a really good cash generation. And in next week, I'm pretty sure he's going to sit around that. I can actually look it up. Break evens. I hope these are updated for round 3. Constable is a 2. So if he plays again, he could go up easily 60, 70, 80k again, and that would put him up around that 500k and make a change out of him a lot easier to do, which will be good. So that's really, really good to see. And then you got Lukosius, Jeffrey, Ainsworth, Swallow, McPherson. He was noticeable, but I guess fell away in the second and 3rd quarter, but very noticeable in the first. Hollands, Flanders, I thought, I was going to say he had a really good or a better first half, and then fell away in the second. Rosas, Long, King, Casbolt. No one here really did anything special. And then you got Uland, who had a 0-point first quarter, and just struggled, I guess. Really struggled to get the ball, as I think Essendon's pressure sort of made him make a lot of mistakes. And yeah, so we'll see with what happens with him. He could easily be dropped next week, which probably helps, as that'll allow me to get. Do they play? They play later on, so it might be the case of Uland out and then getting them playing Cowan and that, or someone like that, and just trying to get a loophole in, as I really do need to help get a loophole in to help me be able to pick my captains. And then yeah, there was nothing else really for them. So that's my Gold Coast versus Essendon AFL Fantasy review, and I'll see you guys in another video. Thanks guys, goodbye.